Hey folks, I'm Jaxsun. Today we're going to be touching on the changes to Feral Druid going into 9.15. Now, if you're not familiar, Blizzard is implementing a huge number of changes actually around reducing the amount of overall AoE cap restrictions that they put in place when Shadowlands first opened up. So what this means for most classes is that you're actually going to see an increase in terms of the amount of targets and damage that each class can produce. And certainly with Feral, we do see that Swipe and Brutal Slash are both coming off the hard AoE cap where they couldn't produce damage above 5 targets. Now beyond 5 targets, those targets will be impacted, but it'll be on a diminishing amount based on the number of opponents over 5 that they end up contacting. So stay tuned as far as that goes. What we do see from a Covenant perspective going into 1.95 is that there's just a huge amount, like 80% of the feral population is playing Night Fae, and that makes a ton of sense. Overall, it's the Covenant that's providing by far the most DPS for this class, and the class has, let's be honest, it's been struggling here the last little bit in terms of damage and throughput. So overall, been holding up really well from a single target perspective, but I'm excited to see where Blizz wants to take Feral going into the end of Shadowlands. They are buffing a couple abilities. The Adaptive Swarm Necrolord ability is basically getting its damage bonus increased during the initial cast of Tiger Fury, which is good news overall, in my opinion. Other than that, like, they're fixing a couple abilities. They increased the jump range of Necrolord, so of that Adaptive Swarm Necrolord ability. So I think they're trying to do what they can to push and make Feral a little bit more attractive, at least for players who are interested in at least giving the spec a shot. It's probably the least popular of all the Mythic Plus specs that are out there, but that doesn't mean it's going to stay like that through 9.15. Now, in terms of what your Mythic Plus build should look like, it's what you see on your screen right now. Tier 1, you want to go with Predator for any kind of Mythic Plus content. If you're going to go more of a raid build, stick the other way, go with Sabretooth. Tier 2, it really comes down to what your preference is. If you are like me and you like the benefit of being able to jump behind an opponent, dazing them for 3 seconds, which, hey, it's a stun, we'll take any kind of stun we can get. I like that a lot. I take full advantage of it. Additionally, Renewal is kind of like a oh shoot contact when you've kind of overstepped your bounds a little bit, so keep that in mind. Or alternatively, Tiger Dash, and that just increases our mobility for an already really highly mobile class. So I don't necessarily know if that changes your decision making a whole lot either way. Tier 4, you've got, again, a utility line. Mighty Bash, I really prefer to have a stun available to me. However, Heart of the Wild, if you do take it, will increase the damage from your balance abilities by 30%. Heart of the Wild is kind of your baseline here. You won't have your DPS increased by any other talent on the row. So think through that, get comfortable with checking it out and figuring out how often you're going to be switching into the elusive balance chicken while you're weaving into your cat form. Tier 5, Soul of the Forest is the recommended way to roll here. I know it's not super exciting, but basically if your finishers can generate 5 energy per combo point, as well as deal 5% increased damage, it really makes it a very strong talent, and it's absolutely the go-to for this line. Some people like to go with that Incarnation King of the Jungle because it's fun to have more cooldowns. I wouldn't recommend it at this time. Tier 6, basically if you're going to be in a 1 or 2 target fight, you are going to go with Brutal Slash. Alternatively, for Mythic Plus for us, Primal Wrath is basically anything beyond 2 targets. So interesting to see how it plays out for sure. but that's what we're recommending to roll with. And then as far as tier 7 goes, Blood Talon is like head and shoulders away. It's the clear choice. It's been outperforming both of the other alternatives that we've seen here. If you're having a hard time lining up Blood Talons and getting your rips managed accordingly, you can go with Feral Frenzy. It's a bit more of a laid back approach, but it gives you a cooldown that you can play with, and also gives you 5 combo points, and that can be pretty satisfying if you're looking just to punch an opponent. So that's the quick and the dirty. As far as like legendaries go, Feral's a little bit weird because it's as opposed to like other classes that might have one good one, Feral has about 5 that are pretty credible. We'll touch on each of them here. What's really interesting is that like Celestial Spirits, which is like the legendary that you get for being associated with Night Fae, has initially started to fall behind here when kind of the theory crafters out there thought it would be by far the preferred choice out of all of them that we see now as Shadowlands kicked off. So basically, if you're looking for what your top go-to should be, the one I recommend is Apex Predator's Carving. And basically it's this really strong legendary. It allows your rip ticks to have a chance to proc a free ferocious bite. Super satisfying. It feels satisfying to take advantage of that kind of a big build. But overall, you're able to produce a whole ton of damage. And that's really one of the things we're really going for. Overall, it's great in terms of AoE, any kind of Mythic plus. It's a really good way to go. Alternatively, the Circle of Life and Death makes all of your dots do their full damage in a shorter duration, increases your damage throughput. So it feels like more work. That's why it's a little bit less popular. But overall, it is a very enjoyable class addition. The other fun ones out there, Frenzy Brand makes your generators basically your generators during Berserk place a stacking bleed effect on the target. It also reduces the cooldown of Berserk for every generator used. So that's pretty satisfying because you're just getting more of your cooldown down faster. Celestial Spirits, like we mentioned, has been pretty popular. And alternatively, you can go with Draught of Deep Focus, and it's probably the best single target legendary if you're being brought along to focus on just training down bosses on, say, a tyrannical week. Overall, Feral's a little bit behind the rest of the classes going into 9.15, but what we do know is that this is a class that always comes on strong as the availability to get high-end gear increases. So definitely keep that in mind as we're pushing additional content here in the future. Don't quite give up on this class yet. There's a lot of fun ahead of us. Alright folks, that's all I've got for the time being. Thanks for checking out the video. Definitely leave a comment or let me know the things you would have liked me to have touched on, and I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks again for watching. Stay well. Peace.